Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Ankush here from Alif Consulting. I'm working as an Azure Solution Specialist. Today we are going to talk about Azure Virtual Machine. Now, Azure Virtual Machine is the same as your physical laptop or a server which you basically use in your data center. So, let's say if you are running any kind of workload or any kind of application on your on-premise data center on the server, Azure Virtual Machine is the same as your servers which is running in a data center, and you can run all the services or any kind of workload which is running on a data center to the Azure Virtual Machine. Azure Virtual Machine is highly scalable. It can be scaled at the any level in terms of compute or in terms of memory, and it can have a storage accounts as well. So let's say you want to have a 10 TB of the storage account storage attached with the server, or you need a 20 TB of that storage attached to this server on the Azure Virtual Machine. You can attach that. It's highly scalable. It's on demand. So like if you don't want to use that virtual machine, you can go ahead and shut down and you will not be get charged. So like you do with the on-premise data center, you go ahead and procure a new server and then you run the infrastructure on top of that. It's the highly invested amount which you need to invest in the purchasing a server, physical server. But in the Azure, it's an on demand, and you can use it whenever and you need it. And once you no longer required, you can go ahead and shut down your machine, and you can go ahead and get rid of your machine. You will be not charged for the time when you don't have use that machine. So here is some use case of virtual machine. So virtual machines can be used to run any kind of workloads like Sharepoint, Exchange, Active Directory, .NET applications, Windows workload, Linux workload, Oracle workloads. So you can run any kind of deployments, any kind of test. You can use it to run any kind of application in the cloud. You can use it to extend your data centers as well. So how you can use it in the extending your data center to the cloud. Let's say you are running a few workloads on the on-premise, or you want to create the highly availability for those workloads. So what you can do, you can run few nodes on the on-premise, and then you can have a hybrid connectivity. With those hybrid connectivity, what you can do, you can have a few nodes running in the cloud. So it can also use as extending your data center as well. So that's how you can extend your data centers, or you can extend your applications to the cloud. Now here is some of the advantage of having the Azure machine. So it's save the cost, electricity, and the infrastructure. So when you're running your virtual machines, or you're running application on the virtual machine, you don't need any kind of maintenance, you don't need any kind of hardware maintenance, you don't need any kind of electricity, you don't need any kind of infrastructure, because it's just a cloud. You just need a network connectivity to access that VM in a secure way, and you would be able to deploy a number of virtual machine in the Azure cloud. It's quicker and faster. Let's so it means like in the on-premise, what you do if you need to run a application on the server, or you don't have a server in your inventory, what you need to do, you need to go ahead and generate the purchase order to buy a new server. But in the cloud, you can have a virtual machine or virtual server running within a 5 minutes. It's have a lower downtime comparing to the physical hardware. That's true, because in the physical hardware, let's say if there is any issues with the motherboard, storage, accounts, you need to wait for your vendor to replace those components, and then only you can start your application back, or you can make your application up and running. But with the cloud, those kind of things are not there. It's completely out of the scope. In the cloud, everything will be managed by vendor, and all the hardware which is there is the highly scalable and highly available. And it's a safe and secure to run any kind of application in the virtual machine. So you can run any kind of applications on the Windows and Linux as well. Now this is how reference architecture look like. So you see you have a resource group, and then you have a public IP assigned to the NIC. You have a virtual machines, and then you have the another disks for data, to store the data, and then in the backend you have a storage account to uh, save the diagnostic log. So this is how your reference architecture look like. So public IP, sometime you need a public IP to the VM, and sometime you don't need a public IP to the VM. So that's not a mandatory part, but rest of the things like subnet, NIC, data disks, OS disk are important part to run the workloads or to run the application, run the workloads application on the virtual machine, or to create the virtual machine in the Azure cloud. Now here are the few sizings. So these are the predefined sizing within the Azure, and they are defined based on the workload you are running. So let's say you are running a general purpose workload, so you have a DS series, DC series, which you can use for that. If you are running any kind of SQL or memory intensive workloads, then you need to use ES series. If you are running a storage optimized workload like a SQL or which need a high IOPS, then you can go for a LS. And then for GB you need to go with NC and NV. And then for the high performance compute, you can go with the HP or SC or H series of the VM. So these are the VMs. These series are predefined and their sizing are predefined. We can't go with any kind of random numbers for vCPUs and for the memories. The everything, all the sizes are predefined based on the workload which you need to run on the VM. Now, the VM availability, Microsoft says their VMs are highly available. So if you are running a VM with the standard storage account, you need to make sure you should have a two VMs running in a one availability set to achieve the SLA of 99.9% for the storage account. Or if you want to, if you don't want to run a multiple VM for the single workload, what you can do, you can have a VM, one VM running with the premium storage, and you would be able to get 99.9% SLA for the VM. So these are the conditions to have the achieve these SLAs. So you need to make sure whenever you're designing your solution or whenever you are running a workload, you should be following these guidelines to achieve the SLAs. Now, in the demo, what I'm going to tell you, I'm going to show you how you can go ahead and create your virtual machine, how you can resize your virtual machine, and how you can log in into your virtual machine. So in my case, I'm already logged in with the my Alif admin account in the subscription. So first of all, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create the virtual machine. So for a virtual machine, I'm going to click here. So you can see I don't have any kind of virtual machine. So here is a I have a multiple ways to create the virtual machine as well. If I go to the home, I can go ahead and click on create a resource group. If I go here, I can type for virtual machine and enter. It will be giving me the option from the marketplace. I can go ahead and create the virtual machine. I can go ahead and click on create. Now first thing in this, I need to define the resource group. In my case, I don't have any kind of resource group. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a demo resource group, and then I can go ahead and create the VM. So Alif demo VM 01. Then you need to define the region. In my case, I'm using it the South India, but you have a, multiple regions, and you can create your VM according to a requirement. If you needed a VM in the US, then you can go ahead and create in the US. If you need in the UK, you can go ahead and create in the UK as well, or maybe in the Asia Pacific, or maybe in Europe. But you need to make sure your virtual networks are running if you need access to the on-premise connectivity, or they are already connected with your on-premise locations. I don't need any kind of redundancy. Don't need any kind of availability set as of now, since I'm creating it for demo. Okay, so I need to use the different because it's a demo account and doesn't have the sizing available in the west. Sorry, in South India. I think does not support use a different location. Okay, so I'm using let's don't go in this way, only use the East US. Yeah, I have the sizing available. I can use what kind of security standard I need. I need a standard. I'm not going to use the TPM because that is included with the generation 2 VM, so I don't need that option since I'm creating it with the for the demo purpose, so I'm going with the standard one. I can go ahead and select the image. I have a tons of image which I can use. I'm using a Windows 10, or if I want to create the Windows server, I can go ahead and create the Windows server as well. So I'm creating a Windows 10. I can use the size, which size I want to use. I need to define the username and the password. Okay, so password must be a 15 character at least, and that's fine. I'm opening a port 3889 to connect with the VM on the public IP. And another thing is I have the hybrid benefit as well. If I'm owning a Windows 10 license with the multi-tenant hosting rights, I can go ahead and use that license as well. I just need to tick here, and that's it. I don't need to give any kind of key or any kind of confirmation here. I just need to check here, and I'm accepting a terms and condition of the Microsoft using that license with the Azure account as well. So it's not with the Windows 10. If you have a Windows servers with the hybrid benefits, you can use that as well here in the cloud as well, which is come under the Azure hybrid benefits. Then I can go ahead and select what kind of disk I'm going to use. I'm going to use the standard SSD. So for the disk, for the managed disk, we are going to talk about in the later series. I'll let you know. I'll have another session for this specific, so the managed disk, where I'll explain you what is the purpose of having a managed disk, or how you can use it to run the workload, or how you can use it with the Azure VMs. Networking. Now important thing is to run a VM, two components are very important. One is the disk and another one is the network. So in my case I don't have any kind of network, so I'm creating a default network with the default configuration. I'm not doing any changes in this. I don't need any kind of management here. So boot diagnosis is something which I have shown you in my PPT in the reference architecture. So boot diagnostic are very important thing, because with the boot diagnostic you can see what exactly happening in the VM. So let's say you have your VM is got accidentally, sorry, not accidentally, your VM is suddenly got stopped. With the boot diagnostic you can see what is happening with your, where is VM is stuck. I'm not installing any kind of custom extension or anything, and click on review. So it's going to validate. Okay, it says the validation failed. Might be I've missed something. Okay, so I need to confirm. Okay, and review, and click on. So this is going to be charge me for around 7 INRs for per hour. You can see this is a very little amount to run this VM in the cloud. So it's just a 7 rupees, 7 INR for hour, and in hours if my work is get done, I can go ahead and delete this VM and I will be only get charged for 7 hours, 7 INRs plus a storage cost which is there. So it's going to be take a few minutes to get deploy the VM. So once that is done, it will submit this deployment in the to the backend infrastructure on the APIs, and the API will be going to take care of all the provisioning, all the resources which is required to run a VM. So if I go back and if I come here in the virtual machine, you will see I am not able to see anything yet here, because the deployment is still in progress. So I need to wait to get this deployment completed, and then I would be able to see the VM name, resource group details, location, status, operating system, and the public IP of the VM. So I need to wait for a few minutes. Okay, so still the deployment is in progress. So the deployment is still showing in the progress, but if I refresh here, I would be able to see my VM, but the status is in still creating. So if I go click on the VM, I would be able to see tons of the informations like a public IP, size, operating system, locations, subscription IDs or DNS name if configured, the VNet details, in which subnet it has been deployed. So this is in a still uh, uh, the creating status. So we need to wait and then we can connect this VM over the RDP. So it's still showing in the creating status, so we need to wait for a few more minutes. Most probably it will be get ready in next 2-3 minutes. So yeah, once this statuses get changed to the running, we would be able to connect with the VM using this public IP. Okay, so now the VM has been successfully deployed and the status of the VM has been changed to the running. So to connect this VM, either I can use this public IP, or either what I can do, I can click on this connect here and I can download the RDP file to connect to this server. So in my case it's a Windows, so I'm going to use it as a RDP. So once you click on RDP, you can download this RDP file and you can click on this one. I'm using a Mac, so it's going to use the remote desktop application to connect with this. Okay, so let me go ahead and in the download and click on the RDP file. So once I did that, it's asking me for username and password. So I am going inside the VM. It's going to accept me the certificate, so I accepted it. It's connecting my RDP, and boom, I'm inside the VM. And from here I can do whatever work I need to do. So it's the same way you run your application or you run your workload on the on-premise server, or you access that server on the remote. Same way you can do it in the Azure cloud as well. The only thing is, the only change is with the on-premise, you can basically access your VM in the physical as well. You can go ahead and connect your monitor with the server and you can access that server, but in the cloud you can only access your servers through the remote desktop service. All right, now we have connected to the VM and we are inside the VM, but what next we can do, like, so let's say uh, this VM is running with 2 core and 8 GB of the memory, but later on you found this is not enough to this is not enough to run my workload. So what I can go ahead and resize this VM and I can increase the size is in any way. Let's say I want to run a 4 core, 8 core, I want to go with the another series like F series or E series. I can go ahead and update that machine. It's just a one click and VM will be get resized to the size which you have selected. Now you do have to restart the VM, stop the VM, and to the capture the VM if you want to delete it. So all of those options are here, and you can do your operations, or you can stop and start the VM, or you can restart the VM, any type. Now another important thing is to attach the disks. So as of now, this is VM is running only with the OS disk, but later on you found like this OS disk is not enough. You need new data disk. So what you can do, you can click on create and attach a new disk. Define the disk name, data disk. What is the size is going to be? So I'm making it as a 10, not a 10. I'm making it as 4, not a 4 actually. Keep it small because I don't need it later on. So I'm keeping it as a 10 GB. Click on save. Okay, go to the downloads. Okay. Uh, all right. If you see, I am inside the VM. I can go ahead and accept the few things, and that's fine. Do you want to allow the? Oh, okay. That's yes. Let's keep it yes. That's it. So if you go inside the VM and if you go here, if you go to this computer, you would be able to see only the C drive because we haven't initiated the disk yet. So what we need to do, we need to go inside the disk manager. Okay, why it not showing the disk management tool? Hmm, properties. It would be here. No. Okay, let's use the shorter version. Shorter command. Run disk mgmt. That's it. Okay. Oh, I forgot to type the MSC as well. So it's the command is the disk mgmt.msc to go inside the disk management. So if you see, it's asking me to initialize the disk. So I need to go and initialize it. Once I do that, it is going to show me the disk which is here. It's in unallocated state. So I need to go ahead and create the volume with this. That's fine. And finish. And as soon as I did that, you see, I am able to see that 10 GB of the disks. So this is how you can go ahead and uh, create a disk or attach a disk with the VM, and later on you can attach within the VM. So in this demo, we learn how we can go ahead and create the machine, how we can resize the machine, or how we can go ahead and attach the disk to the machine, or how we can log in into the machine. This is what I have for Azure Virtual Machine. If you like this video, please go ahead and like and subscribe. If you need any kind of help to migrate your workload from the on-premise to the cloud, or if you want to run your application on the Azure cloud, please feel free to reach us. Thank you.